Hello, Chesterton families. Gaudete, rejoice. It is Saturday afternoon as I'm sitting here recording this, and that means within a few hours, our priests will be wearing pink. And so we're getting closer to the birth of our Lord and Savior. Last night we had our parent date night and orientation to the gala and house system. And if you were able to make it, it was great to see you. Uh, if you weren't, I look forward to catching you up on some of what was discussed in the presentation. So I tried to do a little test run earlier, and the short video that I recorded did not turn out very well. It wasn't very watchable or listenable. So I'm doing it. I'm doing it now. And so I began the presentation just kind of going back to the Chesterton chats, which was probably where you first heard about the gala and the house system at Chesterton Academy. And so, what I aim to do in this presentation, what I was aiming to do last night too, was to put some flesh on the bones of what it was that you heard this summer, or whenever it was that you first learned of these things. And so we began with our mission and our vision statement at Chesterton Academy. So everything we do, we start with our mission and our vision. Big things and little things. So when we were deciding whether to start a high school, we went, of course, to the mission statement first. When we started to look at what's this house system going to look like and what are we going to do with this time in the day that we have called consortium time, that's the time after Mass but before our first class, again, we turn to the mission statement. And even the small things. A number of students have started clubs this year, and when they do that, we ask them to fill out a form. And the very first question on the form is, this is our mission and vision statement. Why don't you reread it and tell us how this club's going to help further that mission and vision. So everything we do starts with this. If there are probably, conceivably, some good things that could be done apart from this mission and vision statement at a Catholic school, but if they exist, they would be distractions from, and they would take time and resources away from what really is our mission and vision, and it's an important mission and vision, and so we don't want to be doing those too much. So we're going to read the mission and vision together here. Our mission: we will meet the unmet demands of our students and our families for a PK-12 classical Catholic education to form a community of disciples in Christ. And our vision: as a Catholic community, we will increase the number of virtuous leaders, thinkers, and intentional disciples of Christ working to rebuild our culture. So as we discuss the gala, as we discuss what we are doing with the house system, I want us to have this mission and vision in mind. And I hope to show you how what we have chosen to do with that time furthers this mission and vision. So, as you know, we have a house system made of 4 houses named after the 4 doctors of the church, Ambrose, the 4 doctors of the church that are the big ones. These are the 4 doctors of the church that are holding up the chair of St. Peter's in Rome. But of course, there are many other doctors of the church. These 4 are Ambrose, Augustine, Athanasius, and Chrysostom. So there are a few purposes to our house system. The first is to assist the student in developing virtue and character. There's a particular way we're going about addressing that this year, and perhaps going forward as well. The second purpose is to provide manageable groups for the entire student body. So there are 7 or 8 students per house this year, and that's a really nice size group for certain things that we do. It's a nice intimate size group that is perfect for what I'm going to be talking to you about. And then the third is to provide for some competition. This is the White Horse Cup that they are vying for right now. And so the big thing that we are we are doing as houses is students are adopting a goal for themselves. But there was a lot of instruction leading up to that point, and there's going to be some going forward too, and not just instruction, but some guidance along these lines. And so with this 25 minute chunk of time called consortium that we have towards the beginning of our day, we've been giving little bits of that instruction. And so I want to take you through a little bit of what we had been doing this first third or so of the year. So one day we talked about mission statements. We talked about how companies, organizations have mission statements, and why do they have mission statements? We discussed how that helps to, how having a mission statement helps to give focus and direction to all of the activities that that organization performs. And it gives sort of a metric, not a metric, but gives sort of a standard to judge all of the activities against. And so we discussed the value of having a mission statement. Then another day we discussed how families also sometimes have mission statements. And sometimes they post it just like a company, and you walk into the door, you might see the mission statement. Hopefully you see your parish's mission statement pretty prominently when you walk in. And sometimes when you walk into a family's home, you can see their mission statement if they have one. And the same reason that mission statements are good and useful and effective for companies and for organizations, it's for the same reasons that they're effective for families as well. And so another day, after discussing mission and vision, I showed students our mission and vision statement, or our mission statement as we call it. Our mission statement reads, the Phillips, being of Roman Catholic faith, believe that their purpose is to raise a family committed to knowing, loving, and serving Jesus Christ and his universal church. Underneath here, it's a little smaller and you might not be able to read it, but it basically says the way we're going to go about achieving what it is that we believe. So you could say this top part is our vision, and then this bottom smaller part is our mission, what we're going to do because we believe this part up here. And so basically in our house, we have goals. We have goals in one of these 5 areas. Now, I didn't come up with these 5 areas. In a little bit, I'm going to show you where I got these five categories from. But it says that we meet. We've changed when and where we meet, so it doesn't go into our mission statement doesn't go into the weeds. We've had to change our family meeting several times in the 5 years or so that we've had this mission statement. But those areas that we have goals in, and we have goals in one area or another at a time, not in all of them. Those 5 goals, or those 5 areas rather, are spiritual, relational, financial, physical, and educational. So underneath, there's just a little blurb that gives context to the category itself, and then a quote at the bottom. So this is what we did. We talked about in another day. We talked about professions. Another day that there are various professions where they have SMART goals. Teachers, they have SLOs. They need to be SMART goals. Sales professionals, they have not just quotas, not just the number, sell this much, but they often go into more specifics than that. Presenters, of course, they give surveys and they have goals too. I want to get more. I want to increase audience participation, something along those lines. And of course, doctors and nurses have care objectives. After showing them my mission and vision another day, what we did is I actually shared with them some of the goals that I and my family members have had. I showed them, I'll tell you quick about 3 of these 5 here. The very first goal I ever had was a spiritual one, and it was this one. I will pray the morning offering each morning for 30 days. I will accomplish this by setting a recurring reminder on my phone along with the text of the prayer. At the time, I didn't have the morning offering memorized, and not having that morning offering memorized can lead to kicking the bucket down the road. He'll have more of a moment to look it up later or something like that, um, as opposed to fumbling through it right now. So, and so this is a SMART goal that was written in a very actionable way, and we discussed SMART goals as well. Another one that I'll share, well, I guess I'll share first before reading this goal. When I first was describing to my wife what I'd like for us to do with this, at first she wasn't resistant, but wasn't super enthusiastic about it. And I think the reason was, actually, we've discussed this. I'm pretty sure the reason was that, I work outside of the home. My wife does as well part-time, but she works from home part-time too. So she dips into both worlds, and because she's at home much more, she's the one who pays the bills. She's the one that knows when bills are due and how much and where people need to be and when. She's the one who worries about what are we going to have for dinner and do we have the ingredients. So I guess to her, it seemed like this was an add-on. This was something we were all going to do, but there were all sorts of things that weren't getting done at our house anyway. The laundry's not getting done. The laundry's not getting put away. We can't get out the door on time, and so my response to that, and this was my response to, or what I shared with students as well, was that instead of seeing this as an add-on, instead of seeing this goal system as an add-on, something added on to an already busy life, we want to address with these goals things that need addressing anyway. So the laundry system's not working for us and it's causing us not to get out of the door. That's one thing. Well, let's make a goal related to that, and let's make it a SMART goal, and let's give each other accountability for our piece. Let's share what we're committed to do, and let others in our family hold us accountable to that, so that it can maximize our success. So here's one of the goals that my wife had at one point. I will collect 3 car insurance quotes by Friday. So this was written at a time where we were trying to cut back a little bit. We're trying to save a little money. Collect 3 car insurance quotes by Friday. Now this, we were having our meetings on Sundays at this time. So this goal was set and verbalized on a Sunday by Friday, and call Saturday morning on the cheapest one. I will set a serial reminder to make this call at 9 a.m. And so that was just a short-term goal. It was something we really needed to do, and it probably got acted on because it was made into a goal. So of course, this was a very short-term goal within the course of a week. This was a little bit longer one. Goals can be longer or shorter term. At times, my wife and I have had multiple goals going consecutively, and we ask the same of our children as well, although often they're kind of reaching for low-hanging fruit, and that's okay for the moment. The last goal I want to share with you is this one. This was when I was working at the diocese. I was trying to get a little healthier, lose a little weight. It says, I will spend 30 minutes of my lunch hour for 12 consecutive Wednesdays walking on the Fox River Trail. So the Fox River Trail was just along the river, right across the road from the diocesan campus. To support myself in this goal, I will schedule it on my work calendar and pack an easy lunch. Now, at first, when I had this goal, it didn't have the pack an easy lunch part. And I wasn't doing very well with the goal at first, because often what would happen is I'd have my lunch, I'd need to go and I'd take it to the microwave, I'd get behind somebody at the microwave, I'd get talking to somebody at the microwave, and before you know it, I have a meeting. I don't think I can swing going on a walk right now. It'd be a really short walk if I went. And so I realized before too long that in order to maximize success, I needed to pack an easy lunch so that I could just, eat it super quick and be gone, or even eat it on the way, which is often eating it while I walked, which is often what happened. So these are some of our goals. And with one day, with one consortium period, I shared some of these. Still another day, we looked at those same goals, and we talked about SMART goals, and how SMART is an acronym. And a SMART goal should be specific, it should be measurable, it should be actionable, written in a way that okay, what does that look like if I were to go and get started on it now? It should be relevant, and it should be time bound. So, of course, I would pray the morning offering for 30 days. It was time bound. Even though my intention was not to get done with it and then never pray the morning offering again, I wanted a point where I could say, did I meet my goal? And so that was what that 30 days was about. And then finally, we culminated in having students address one of those areas, the spiritual, the relational, the intellectual, thinking of what's that need area in their life. Maybe they're not doing as well in a class as they would like to. Maybe there's some friction between a parent or whatever, or a sibling. Maybe they really want to save up money for something, so they would want a financial goal related to saving for that thing. And then after looking at several SMART goals, and after all of this, these little bits of instruction, they wrote a goal statement that addresses one of those areas. And so my hope in this is, and they were encouraged to reach for low or moderately high hanging fruit with these goals, and not necessarily, the big things, the big deep things of life. But it is my goal that as they spend time in their houses, as they continue doing some team building, things with their houses, getting to know. Of course, it's a small group of 30 kids anyway, but especially their houses, getting to know them a little bit deeper, getting to trust one another, and opening up and sharing what those goals are. Seeing this process through, seeing that, hey, the SMART goal thing, I can really affect some positive change here. My hope is that even if it doesn't occur this year, that down the road in the future, they say, okay, I've seen this process through. I've seen that this can work really well. I want to address something bigger, right? Maybe it's I want to stop looking at pornography, or maybe it's something else. And maybe that's not something they would share, of course, with the whole group. It may not be something they would share with adults, and that's okay. But perhaps, especially when they come to value the accountability piece, sharing what that goal is with somebody else, because that increases their resolve to meet that goal and to act on it. I hope that they would be able to address some of those bigger things because of having done this. And I think that's the exciting difference, that we can be here. That's the exciting part of a classical Catholic education. And so I want to spend just a little bit of time talking about, why SMART goals? Why do this, in the context of a school? And so the short answer is that it's in alignment with our mission as a school, as you saw. I'll flip back to that and we'll glance at it again real quick. But it's also it's also aligned to our mission as a diocese. Of course, it's aligned with our mission as a school because we're trying to build. We're trying to create thinkers, leaders, and disciples. We're trying to make intentional disciples at our school. And an intentional disciple is really one who's well-rounded in all of those several areas. And in particular with our diocese, I want to talk about that for a second. So a couple of years ago, you may remember this, Bishop came out with something big. He said that, right, the Office of Vocations is not the only one responsible for creating a culture of vocations and a culture of discernment in our diocese. No, not anymore. He said that's the responsibility of everyone. It's the responsibility of Catholic school teachers and administrators. He said it's the responsibility of parents, and parishes. Maybe father played a part in the past, but now it's the whole parish. Now you need to get together as a team and start talking about this sort of thing. How are we going to, as a parish, encourage that? And then, of course, right there in your families is probably the biggest. It's probably the biggest influence that we have relative to vocations. And so he said it's a collective effort, and we need this. We need this to happen. And so we started taking a serious look, and we said, well, how do we get that? How do we make that happen? Right? How do we do that here? And one of the things that came to mind was this papal encyclical, this encyclical Pastoris Dabo Vobis, which means I will give you shepherds. It was written in 1992 by Pope John Paul II, and in Pastoris Dabo Vobis, he said priestly formation, the process of priestly formation, up to this point, it's been a lot of intellectual formation. It's been a lot of book learning, and it's been some spiritual formation too, some intellectual formation and some spiritual formation. So, but that wasn't doing very well. We were lacking what priestly formation was lacking was more of a human formation, right? How do we relate well to other people? How do we have good self-mastery? Do we have good habits? Can we do things? Can we play the long game? Can we delay gratification? Can we all these little pieces of what I'm calling human formation, what John Paul calls human formation? And so he was saying there needs to be more to this priestly formation, and in the decade since, that has happened. That has largely happened, and it's yielded probably some really positive fruit. But in Pastoris Dabo Vobis, he outlined these 5 different categories, and they're reminiscent of the 5 categories that I have up here. They're not exactly the same, but they're very similar to them. He had spiritual, he had relational, he had physical, and he had educational. I'm sorry, I said intellectual. It's educational on our thing. But and then he had pastoral. A pastoral formation is one of his. And for us, for a family, it made more sense to have physical. And maybe for a student, it does. Maybe for a high school student, it does as well. But so we modeled our categories for our mission statement off of Pastoris Dabo Vobis. And he said that this is not only for people who have already discerned the priesthood, to enter into formation in these 5 categories. He also said, if you just form people in general in these 5 categories through your Catholic schools, through your RE programs, through your whatever, he said, if you do that, they'll probably hear the call. And our bishop says this all the time. Bishop Riggin says this all the time. He says there's no shortage of vocations in the Diocese of Green Bay. And but he says that what there's a shortage of is a shortage of hearing the call. And so one of the ways that we want to be a part of that solution at St. Ignatius Chesterton Academy is to address each of these areas of formation. And so I'm really excited that our mission aligns so closely with such an important initiative of our diocese as well. And so that's why we're doing SMART goals. Now, as exciting as maybe all of that sounds, I gotta say, we're not able to do it as well as we would like. And this is where the gala piece comes in. Not only the SMART goal piece, but some other pieces of our just general operations. we're not able to do quite as well as we would like. And we're really looking forward to the future because, especially having this first almost semester in, we're already I'm already kind of thinking ahead. I got one foot in next year already. And I'm excited about some of the changes that I know we'll be able to make to make the school year go even better. So and part of what we need is a really successful gala, right? And so that's why this is where we're going to transition into talking about the gala. Okay, and I'm not going to play these videos here, but actually this one, it still shows the thumbnail, but it doesn't exist anymore. They took it down, but it was a gala promo that a couple of students were working on, or they did, for another Chesterton Academy that I just showed as an example. I showed that to the Chesterton students at the beginning of the year when it was still working. This video does still work. This is a speech keynote by one of the seniors from a Chesterton Academy one year, and that's typically how Chesterton Academy galas are. Is the students provide the entertainment. It's a little bit of a showcase of the Chesterton curriculum, and so he's just giving a classic keynote address here. And he's pretty funny in that video. So if you actually go onto YouTube and you type in Chesterton Academy Gala, this will pop up pretty close to the top. But I think the big takeaway here about the gala is that execution of the gala at all Chesterton Academies is a planned and coordinated effort between homes, between families and schools. And often the house system is leveraged in the execution of certain aspects of the gala. So it may be that the Ambrose house, they'd get together and they'd do table setup or something like that at the venue. Or it may be that one person is pretty good at videography and they want to do the marketing and do the promo video with kids, and so that's something they might get together, have a little time together in an evening, but also accomplish some sort of collective task with that time as well. And then I guess another important subpoint is that this gala is a little bit like the Chesterton students' prom, but of course it includes families, and that's actually, from what I've heard from other Chestertons, that as different as that is, that's a positive, that's something they get a lot of positive feedback about. And so I'm going to actually, in the very next slide here, reveal some gala details, such as date, time, venue, or date and venue, not time just yet. But so here we go. Drum roll. The gala details. Now you will be receiving an invitation, a formal invitation, but the reveal of the date and venue was at last night's event. The gala will be on April 30th, Saturday, April 30th. The specific time will be determined before too long, but of course that would be late afternoon, evening type of event. And it's at Highcliffe Banquet and Event Center. One of the things is that, of course, being small, being 30 families, and I don't know that we would get all 30 families, especially since COVID's still a thing. It's still a reality here, and or other sicknesses too are sort of taking people out in turns here. But it is open to all St. Ignatius families because we are one K-12 school. But we are going to try really hard to have as many high school families, if not all high school families, join us as possible. And we're also going to make a pretty strong push to see if we can get eighth grade families. We'd love to get eighth grade families for that continuity piece between the middle and the high school. And so I want to talk a little bit about connecting the funds from the gala to the mission and the vision of St. Ignatius School, and then also to what I shared with you about the house system. So what are some of the ways we're not able to do that quite as well, and how would those revenues, what difference would that make? Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about that. So the revenue from the gala is going into what is our general needs fund at school, which is what most of the fundraisers, if not all the fundraisers, I don't know that offhand, but which is the typical place that money that is fundraised goes. Under that, a lot of different things. I don't have them all listed, but staff retention and closing the pay gap is something that will really continue to benefit Chesterton students. So right now we've got a lot of part-time teachers. We've got a lot of teachers who are shared between the downstairs and the high school. And that's great because right now we're new, we're starting out, and we have to be very efficient. So if middle school needs a little bit of FTE and high school needs a little bit of FTE, that's kind of how it works. But that also makes it very difficult to get at for high school kids to get at their teacher sometimes. And it makes scheduling very difficult. Right now we have some inefficiencies in the schedule where we have some extra time for certain classes, but also at the beginning of our day. And then other times we're a little tighter, and I gotta say, consortium is one of those times. This time that we've been doing some of this instruction leading up to the SMART goals piece. One thing I think we've not been able to do much, as much as we'd like to, as much as we definitely need to make that vision that I was just describing earlier regarding the goals, to make that come to fruition, is some of the team building piece. So the kids have not been in their teams or in their houses, the Ambrose together and the Chrysostom's together, as often as we would like, and it's partly due to those inefficiencies. And so we've made some really good strides in recent years, closing the pay gap between teachers here and in the public schools. We need to do a little bit more because we've lost some teachers due to that. And so those are just some of the things that, as we continue to make that happen, I think Chesterton's really going to benefit. Also in recent years, parishes, they've not been taking in as much. Just people haven't been back, or maybe have had job changes, perhaps related to COVID, and parishes across the board are taking a little bit of a hit, and that affects what they're able to contribute towards their mission of supporting Catholic schools, which means that we need to operate with a little bit less support from parishes. So we need to minimize our dependency on the parishes, and that's a real thing, and that compromises the parish's ability to do their other ministries as well. So that's one thing. And then athletics. Athletics is a big one. We've had students tour, really like what they see, and then ultimately not choose to come because of athletics, and we understand that. One of the things that we can't do right now is we can't we're not in a position really to provide transportation. But if that were to be able to change in the future, that would incentivize more families to be able to participate, or more students to be able to participate. I know the volleyball season, the volleyball season was a rough one, but our girls did an awesome job. But it was rough to have to go to Stockbridge for practice. And there should be some alleviation in that going forward with sports seasons, even before providing transportation. But that's just another piece that's going to continue to strengthen Chesterton Academy when we're able to do that. So funds from the gala are going into our general needs fund. And because 30 families are not going to raise those funds all by themselves, we're going to have some of our beloved donors attend the gala with us, and also broaden it to the rest of our St. Ignatius families. So we're winding down here. I want to go into a couple of other things. One of the things that other Chesterton headmasters had communicated to me, that I heard from at least 3 or 4, house social dinners are a big part of what helped their house system sort of come together. Now, they're not all doing goals. That's something unique to us. It's something that works really well because of the diocese that we're in. But whatever it is they're doing, the house social dinners and just building that Ambrose team spirit and that Chrysostom team spirit, that's really important, they've said over and over. So one of the things that they do a couple of times a year is that each house will get together for a house social dinner. It may be a potluck, or maybe one family is cooking, or it's up to them to decide that. But it's a social gathering of Chesterton families from the same house for developing the bonds of friendship and fraternity. So it will occur at one of the family's houses, usually, but it doesn't have to. It could be out in a neutral environment, and often it's a spiritually edifying experience. So I'm aware that at in Lisle, Illinois, where there's Chesterton Academy of the Holy Family, some of the dads get together and they read one of the books that is used in the Chesterton curriculum. So Orthodoxy by G.K. Chesterton is one that kids get into right away. Sometimes they'll have a priest or a deacon over. Should say also sometimes there's these events are during the week. Maybe it's a weeknight that works best for those families. And so what should kids be doing on that weeknight? Probably doing homework. But they come, they have dinner together. It's an opportunity to maybe even get some support and do homework together. And so, and sometimes too, that involves working on a service project. So I know we had kids working on floats earlier this year, or on a float earlier. Not this year, this week. That's in better weather. That could be something that takes place at at somebody's home if circumstances were different. So there's a lot of ways this could look, but that building the Augustine or the Chrysostom or the Athanasius team spirit is really important, and also kind of strengthens resolve too to go and earn those house points to try to get that trophy at the end of the year. And so we have some specific gala asks too. Now that we've been able to tell a little bit about the gala and connect the need for the funds from the gala to certain things that we'd like to be doing more efficiently here. And so those asks are, first of all, would you be able to serve on a committee which could, depending on who's available to serve on that committee and their situation, could meet in person, but could also meet virtually as well. So over the summer, we're meeting with a small committee to form the houses initially, to place students in the houses, and that committee met virtually as well. Second one, do you know, or could you connect us with anyone who might be interested in being a table sponsor? So think of maybe a business, or think of somebody who would really be excited about that mission and vision, or that particular project of the goals in the house system. And and let them know, or perhaps get them in touch with us, because I'd love to tell them a little bit more. And this would be an opportunity to have a business get some airtime. The third one, are you good at videography? That's one of our skill gaps here at the school, and this would be a way to share what's happening at the gala, to share all that awesome stuff that's going to go on, to share that out with people who won't be able to make that date, um, or we're limited in our capacity at this venue as well. So we hope to fill it, and that would be great if we did. I think we would do well if we filled it, or even came close to filling it. But there's going to be several people who aren't going to be able to join us for whatever reason, and with videography being kind of a skill gap here, that would be awesome if we could find somebody to help with that. And then lastly, can you host a house get together, or in order to build some of that house rapport that I just described? So so those are some of our specific asks that we have. And if you would be able to help with any of those, if you could get in touch via email or call the school, we'd love to hear from you. And then lastly, getting very close to the end, just a couple housekeeping things. One of the hurdles that we've been working at getting over, and we've made some real significant progress in, is the workload alleviation. So some of that comes from all the asks that we have of kids in this first year. It's very important to get a lot of brand exposure in our community, and so that's why we've been doing various choir things besides the concert the other night, but other things, the Veterans Day thing. There was another one earlier than that. Lots of different opportunities to get them out and visible, and part of that has come with a little bit of a loss of class time, and so that workload balance that is just from being a new school, but also missing some class, and of course kids have been out for chunks of time, being sick and whatnot, and so that's something that we've been continuously trying to overcome. But we've made some pretty good strides, I think, in that. And so one ask that I have is that if you would touch base with them. We've done that a couple of times since instituting some of the changes we had discussed as a faculty. But if from the home front, if you would be able to ask and maybe concur, or if you notice that for your child that's not the case, we'd like to hear about that and discuss what we might do as a result. So, and then also one thing, just ensure that your child has a predictable time and place for homework, which is free of distractions, particularly device distractions. So kids were awesome when we discussed that with them. One of the things that came up was that they were very open and honest that for several of them, that did seem to be an issue, that they had the time, they had the space, but that they weren't always as efficient as they could be because of that distraction of that device. And then the support from the home front would be one way in which I think we can work together very well. And then there's another one that's not on here, but we talked about goals. Take a moment and maybe ask your son or daughter, about his or her goal, and what is that? Because often, as I mentioned, when we set goals, and if we just have them internally in our minds, and it's not shared out, sometimes we don't always follow through, even if we might make it a SMART goal. Having just told another person often builds or increases the resolve in us to actually make it happen. And that's one thing if we have that at home or if we have that at school. And so I was excited to be able to share some of that with you so that you would know and just know to potentially ask and see what that goal is. There could be some kids who I know there were a couple that the group that I led, when it came time to actually share those goals, there were a couple that didn't have them. So I don't know about the other 3 houses, but there's the potential that there wouldn't be that they might not have a goal, that they didn't actually do it. So it's not part of a class. So if they were prioritizing their other work, I guess I can't complain there. But the idea is that everyone would. And if you could help maybe guide them, as their parent, you probably know some areas that might need it. But if you could guide them in ushering them towards one of those areas where it wouldn't feel like an extra add-on, that would be awesome. That would be another way in which we can really work together really well. So we're pretty much at the end here. I guess one last housekeeping thing that I had, and this is for the folks that if anyone's watching, just to sort of get caught up again, see what he might have missed that he remembered to do while he was making the video. One of the things is we had T-shirts out, and I totally forgot to even mention the T-shirts, but we have house T-shirts in all sizes. So if you're Augustine and you want a house T-shirt, the price that we would have been asking, we did sell a few, but last night towards the end from people who'd asked, but I didn't mention them. I didn't mention the T-shirts at all. So just a suggested donation of $10 is pretty in the ballpark of what the costs of what the per unit cost for those T-shirts were. So we would love to assist in building that team spirit by getting some of those T-shirts out. And so you can just send, if you'd like, you can just send that donation for those shirts if you'd like some with your son or daughter, and we can make sure that one gets home to you. So that is all I had for you today. If you have any questions on any part of this presentation, please reach out Phillips at stignatiuskakana.org or call our school office, and I'd be happy to get in touch with you. All right. Advent blessings, everybody.